Scared me. Jeez. All right. The average corn leaf is about that long.
Just like that?
Just like that. Ben, tissue testing.
I had another thought with that, but okay.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, what's up?
We talked about the upper and the lower leaf last time. Is there any point in tissue testing wheat?
No, not really.
Is it tough?
It's tough.
Okay.
Low margin crop? No, it's actually fairly high margin, but
Probably by the time you get it back from the lab, it's going to be too late to do much.
You're not going to spend money on wheat. Nobody does.
That's a good point. Unless you need 945.15 and fulvic. But then it's not very much.
You can only spend so much money on wheat, I think, before it really just starts not making sense.
Here's a question. How much would you consider too much nitrogen applied April 1st? Like, what's too much?
Before that?
Shooting for 60 bushel wheat.
Depends on what you're following.
Corn and
Depends
beans.
on how much carbon you have.
Not a lot.
Following beans?
Sure. Or corn. Failed, like drought corn.
Oh,
made 60.
none. If it's failed corn, none.
You wouldn't put any on?
I wouldn't put any on.
Whoa.
Before April 1st.
No, after. Let's say April 15th. We're going to top dress.
Okay, so tell me again.
Okay, we have a certain someone on our team.
Okay.
He goes by a nickname of a certain crop.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Next.
Got you, buddy. He planted his wheat. It looks really good. Tillered well into corn stalks that the corn, I mean, it was drought last year. Corn didn't do very good. Sub 100. And, you know, I had sub 100 right next to it. So it's no bash at all. I mean, it's just drought corn. Anyway, hasn't pulled a test. See how much nitrogen he has in the soil. But say the wheat's looking still pretty dang good. We're here well into April. Guys are running some more top dress right now, depending on the stages.
April or March?
April.
Okay.
April. 30 pounds, 100 pounds, 80 pounds.
To finish?
Yeah.
Just depends, I guess, on how much rain is in the forecast. Well, so it depends on how cool May is looking like it's going to be.
Okay. This would be 28 in humic. He's streaming
Right.
on.
So fill period. I'm going to sit there and say this every time because it's something I fully believe. Nothing matters till May. Nothing with wheat. May, if it's good, going to have banging yields. If it's hot, gets real, 100 degrees in May during fill period, and it shortens the fill period up, 60, 50, 40 bushel wheat. So,
Well, but if someone's shooting for 50 to 60 bushel wheat,
it's just going to depend on the fill period, honestly.
okay.
So if it's looking cooler, so I always look out in May 10th-ish. It's going to be sooner out over here. But back west, May 10th, look at the forecast.
Okay.
Next 3 weeks. They seem to not be able to get rain right, but what they can tend to do is get temperatures fairly close. So if you can go out and look 3 weeks and it's going to be cooler than normal, put more on because it's going to utilize it. But if you're seeing triple digits in there, depending on how much you've got prior to that, you're going to have a shorter fill period and you're not going to utilize it.
Dad always said our limiting factor was we got too hot too fast.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a lot of a spring. We go from winter, some nice weather in April, and then it just turns off hot and muggy.
Yeah. So you get north west map up there in Wyoming, Montana, up there in the northern part of the country where their fill periods get real long, they get some monster.
Forgot a pin.
Right. You get some monster wheat yields in them areas because the fill period's really, really wide.
Yeah. I've got some good friends in Idaho. They aren't raising 120 bushel wheat. I mean, 120 is very typical.
Mm-hmm.
But they're harvesting in late August, mid-August.
Oh, yeah. So last fall, I went up to Canada, and they were still cutting wheat.
Yeah.
That was almost October 1st.
Wow.
They were still cutting.
Yeah.
They're cutting canola, too.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I think they cut everything all at once, to be honest.
Just keep combining, just switch heads. Okay, so we get asked, we got a lot of guys that don't raise wheat, but we also do have some guys that do. I'm trying to think. And it's tough to say a number. Would you say 50 pounds is overdosing it? 30 pounds?
Or 50?
Things are looking good later April.
If you got, a pound or less per bushel of target for wheat.
Okay.
Industry standard, I think, is 2.25
pounds.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Yeah, I don't. It's gonna take me too long to find. There's a university deal that talks about wheat and the proper way to raise 100+ bushel wheat, and it's like 250 pounds of N, and like 175 pounds of that in anhydrous.
Do you realize what that would cost right now?
Well, it doesn't make any sense. So it is a university, and it is not very old. I'd say it's 5 years. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it takes to raise 100 bushel wheat in their eye. It's 2.25 pounds. So it's 225 pounds to raise 100 bushel wheat, according to them.
Jeez.
But wow. I know there's nobody listening to this that's in that range. At least I hope not. We can save you some money.
We can help you. Gee, money, gosh. All right, Ben, what does Ben want to talk about?
What does Ben want to talk about?
Yeah. Oh, do you know how the hydrogen bomb worked and was made?
Do I know how it was made?
Yeah, I mean, do you know anything about the hydrogen bomb? We talked in the past about hydrogen, good uses and bad uses. How does a hydrogen bomb work?
So hydrogen bomb's different than the original nuclear bombs.
Okay.
So Fat Man and your Little Boy are uranium bombs. Hydrogen bomb
name?
Fat Man and Little Boy.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Little Boy blew up Hiroshima and or Hiroshima, however you're going to pronounce it, and Fat Man blew up Nagasaki. Fat Man was a bigger bomb. I think it was a plutonium core versus uranium. It's just radioactive metals. Where it gets crazy is when you get into hydrogen. So you add hydrogen, it is literally, I don't even know what to use. You've got a bomb here, and you've got essentially a pipe that goes down it. They fire a molecule at so uranium bomb, you have uranium core and fire another uranium molecule down and hit the core and start a reaction, but it has to happen like instantly. There's got to be enough pressure to create a reaction. So it's like TNT inside there that shoots it down and starts a reaction. And when you get a hydrogen bomb, you'll have a cell in there of hydrogen with it. And once the reaction starts, the hydrogen drives the reaction out of control, essentially. It's an additional thing. So the science behind it, I don't really know that much about it. But I do know when they did the first hydrogen bomb test, it almost yielded, I think they were estimating it to be a 10 megaton explosion, and it ended up coming out at almost 20. And it almost killed the scientists that were on the island with it because the reaction ran away so much faster.
Oh.
So Castle Bravo is that exact detonation test.
This is the kind of stuff I love to get Ben started on. It's just like...
It's fascinating because it's just the stuff that's just nuclear fusion, fission, all these things is just, it's interesting. So...
What else do you know, Ben, That's interesting.
There's a lot of interesting stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
What does Ben want to talk about?
I don't know.
Okay.
Hydrogen bombs.
Okay,
is
I mean,
kind of interesting. I don't know.
Hydrogen bombs.
No.
You know anything cool about fish?
Anything cool about fish? They say the fish don't feel pain.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I don't know.
Oh.
They sense what I was.
Do you know? Okay.
That fish are similar to plants to this. They don't feel pain. They sense damage. And so you feel like electronic nerve stinging, that's in your brain. They're different. I don't know exactly how to explain it. So plant doesn't feel pain either, but it can sense damage. So it doesn't have a nervous system. It transmits signals via chemically.
This is perfect. Would you talk momentarily about ethyl gas?
Ethyl gas is
I think it's interesting.
Interesting. Ethyl gas is a chemical signature of essentially I give up.
Okay.
So a plant goes, one bad apple ruins the whole batch or ruins the ship. If you have a ship that's got one bad apple in it, it'll ruin the entire pod. And the reason why is ethyl gas. Ethyl gas creates essentially a reaction within everything starting to give off ethyl gas, and that creates decay. That's why you get one bad apple, and they just continue to grow out. It's the ethyl gas. It's not like contamination. It is, but it's not like
one bad apple ruins the batch.
Ethyl gas. Yep.
We should charge for this.
There's plant stress.
Yeah.
Ethyl gas.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Tell the people, Benjamin.
Tell
them
the people what?
About ethyl gas and how it works in plants.
It's just essentially a signal that they're done. But I don't know, I've seen a study done that they're looking at spectrometers and light reaction off of plants actually being a signature for issues as well. So bugs are seeing a certain light wavelength over just the ethyl gas. I don't remember where I even seen that, but that was an interesting deal.
Okay. Now I'm scared to look into the light.
You gotta stare at it some more. There you go.
I need to do some grounding.
Yeah. There's just so many weird things.
Okay.
So that's why I study, or I guess I don't study, I just love hearing about physics and things that are going on, because it just really, this world right here, what's possible, not possible, especially if you want to talk about not possible, just start studying.
What's not possible?
Start studying, yeah. Actually, it'd be easier to just study what is possible.
Okay.
So,
is me raising 300 bushel of corn possible?
I'd always told you it was.
Yeah. What do I need to do? Tell me what to do, Ben. Yucca.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, here. Josh Pretz, you know my soul. You know my
bad habits.
Yes. What? Oh, sorry. Oh, I figured you're getting mad because I'm fumbling with a tape measure. Forgive me, oh great one. What steps do you think are going to be needed on my farm for me to hit 300 bushel of corn across the road here? Manure?
Your main limiting factor is usually nature by a lot. I would say it's more than typically if you get up northeast, or even irrigation farms out west. If you just get wrong rain at the wrong time, it's going to upset the whole system.
Yeah. So when I hit 300, it's just going to be because I got the perfect growing year.
I mean, in a sense, your tight soil kills you.
Yeah.
And so aeration, soil respiration is nailing you most of the time. I mean, even Joe's
lots of humic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was guys talking about, we were talking about magnesium in your soil.
Yep.
And applying elemental sulfur
Mm-hmm.
to counteract that. So taking elemental, introduce, you're going to make magnesium sulfate, Epsom salt, and then it leaches through. Problem with your profile is it's 9 feet plus thick because we've already bored it and we know that it's super deep. That only works if it can ever move through. And if your CEC is 25 to 30 all the way down 9 feet, we in the West, for water to move into the water table of 150 feet, it takes over 10 years. And that's not counting heavy topsoil that would deep.
10 years? Oh,
Yep.
dear me.
So that's the study that K-State guy is the one that told me. It takes 10 years roughly for the water, once it hits the soil and starts soaking in, for it to actually make it to the water table is 10 years in the West.
Do you believe it?
It's slow.
Okay.
The problem with water. So I need like a layer thing. We can use a map. If you got each one of those black lines is a different soil component, like top one's clay, this one's sand, and then it becomes a clay again. You have to fill those to saturation before they'll move to the next layer. It's essentially like a rock shelf. So every time that changes as you go down, you have essentially a plug for a little while. So I can see in certain scenarios, taking 10 years or maybe more.
Wow.
So there's a video on the internet I've seen that this guy has a pane glass and these layers, and he dumped it in there and it just hit the sand, stopped. It's sand. You would think it would flow through that. No, stops until that entire top layer gets fully saturated, and then it went through the sand. And then it stopped until the sand was saturated, then it went into the next one.
That's like your depiction of filling a sponge.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to sneeze. You know why. And we're back. Excuse me. Okay. Sorry. Had a rough experience for this podcast. Paying for it now.
Yeah. So, to your question, do I believe it? I think in certain scenarios, yes. I think it's a good general idea of time. Yeah, probably.
Okay. Gosh, what were we talking about? We're talking about all kinds of things.
Yeah, you're all over.
Activity, bombs, wheat, and
Water infiltration.
Yeah, 300 bushel corn. So do you think, a drain tile, that'd be a huge thing, you think?
I don't know. I talked to a guy that does a lot of tile. I have almost no experience with tile other than the guys that I've worked with that have it. Okay. There's essentially tile centers, how close they're going to be. The tighter the soil, the closer they need to be. Your problem is you're so flat, you're going to end up dealing with a lift station.
I was thinking over here. I got enough grade. I could probably slope it down.
Yeah, but you got to stay below the surface on one end and have a grade all the way to the other side.
True.
Well, at least to the other side of that set.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think it definitely wouldn't hurt.
Yeah. I should go out and trench a couple strips of tile, tie them together, just see what it does in a 20 feet wide. Something like that.
There was a deal. I was on the GMD board, and this investor come in from California and had a new tile, and it was a weird tile. So it was almost like a flat tape trough, and he buried it in the ground, and you pump irrigation water in there, and it percolates up in a V. And then when it's too much, then it pulls it back the other way. And it looked interesting, except for CEC would play largely into that. And then drip irrigation, for anybody in here that's messed with drip, knows that if it's a dry year, you can't get that water to go up. It'll only go down.
In your soil?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It don't want to go up. So drip irrigation, you'll see drip irrigation be abandoned in the West on dry years just because you got to have something to start the crop, and it will never soak to the surface in a hot, dry year. Unless it's like super covered in cover crop, terminated cover crop, so it ain't drawing it out.
Tons of water through it super fast.
It's only emit so much, so fast.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next random topic. 300 bushels of corn. I mean, I think I'm gonna. So my goal is, I do want to do some compost. I want to blend manure, humic, and straw together.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of start building me a compost pile. I mean, dude, I can do it with the Iowa boys and just throw some pigs in it. I don't know. It's just,
Josh,
yeah.
what random fact do you know?
Okay, I know that the hair on a buck is used for musical notation. Basically, okay, in pianos, there are felt pads in there that are used. I think it's on the hammers, that strike hammers on the strings, and they use hair from white-tailed bucks because it's hollow, it has a better sound resonation through it. Not the hairs of the does are not hollow. So you can't use doe hair, only buck hair. And it helps create a fuller resonating sound inside a piano.
Interesting.
You didn't know that, did you? We should
Where'd you learn that from?
Sure, is my guitar teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to think
He was a pianist.
Duryea, but never mind.
Oh, I'm sure he knows that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should have a special guest on to share their random fact.
Aaron?
Got a
What's a random fact?
That's not random.
It's overwhelmingly abundant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What value can we bring to people? Here. What's something we can share that's going to help a farmer this year?
That's going to help a farmer this year.
Yeah. You know what I keep hearing?
What's
hearing guys, it keeps coming back to nitrogen. I swear every podcast comes back to nitrogen. I keep hearing from guys. It's like there's this thing where everyone wants to raise the highest corn on the lowest N. Like, I was at 0.7 last year. I'm going to shoot for 0.5 this year. Or I think I can hit 0.4. It's like the acres game. How many acres do you farm has turned into the lowest nitrogen per bushel. Which
it's the easiest thing to cut. And if you're an irrigation farm, it's the easiest thing to bail yourself out of too.
Oh, yeah. Because you can go throw it out real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you push it too far.
But, I mean, think of the risk. Think of the risk. If you're, we talk about this before, so many people do these hard swings, 100% cover crop, all of a sudden, reduced fertility. It's not this stair-step pattern. It's a system. It's this implementation of, I'm going to do this in a hard swing. I'm going to go all no-till this year, sell all my tillage equipment, or I was all no-tiller. I'm going full tillage and everything, rip every acre and so on and so forth. We see these big swings, and I don't know. It's like guys can't have a middle ground with some practices here and some practices there, but just the risk that you'd take of, say you raised your corn last year on 0.9 of a pound of N per bushel, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to shoot for 0.4, which I've had that conversation with guys already.
Mm-hmm.
Man, if you're not in irrigation, the level of risk that you have right now with not high interest historically, but much higher, like I'm 30 years old. 9% interest is the highest interest I have ever paid personally in my farming career. Obviously there's guys older than me that have paid double that. I don't think quite triple, but in the high teens back in the 80s. But it's that measuring risk of, okay, yes, it's good to reduce fertility in the right instance if it makes sense, but man, don't be so. It's like so. I get so nervous when I hear guys like, I'm gonna do this, and the plan behind it really isn't financially stable.
I think the thing, like we talked before, is realistic goal for yield. So many people build in 20, 30, 40, 50% at potential. So if your goal is 200, a lot of guys will go out and go ahead and fertilize for 3. because just in case.
Sure.
We all know that the chances of hitting those, if you're at 200 and you're trying, your swing for the fence, this would be awesome, is 300. How likely is that going to be? Have you ever hit it in your life? Well, no, or whatever it may be. Then probably not a real good goal to fertilize for or whatever if the year is like this year where it might be tight.
Yeah.
So when you're pulling back fertility, if your yield goal is 200, I would do 0.7 of 200.
Okay.
Not 300. Because then you're at point, whatever you'll be a 1/3 less or 1/3 more. So you'd be right at 1 pound again.
140 pounds in on 200 bushel corn.
Yeah.
Be points. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one I would say. The other seed, we talked about that being reactive versus proactive to an extent. Certain things you can't help on the reactive side as much as being proactive, but the things that you can, so fungicides with southern rust where we have, or common rust, being reactive tends to be a little more, has a better ROI on a farm on an average.
How serious do you take rust in wheat?
In wheat,
Yeah.
you fairly.
Really?
The better the year, the more that's going to nail you.
Okay.
Cruddy years, it just depends on that fill period. If the fill period gets real wide, then yeah, it's going to play a lot more than if it's short.
Okay.
The rust on the flag leaf, it just annihilates it.
Okay.
So typically for wheat, I'm not a big fan of full rate fungicides on wheat. I just don't think they pay most time. It's just too short a window. So I typically half rate them and then put something out to biologically support. So like kelp, something that's really cheap to do, that has a fungicide type effect by supporting the natural system.
Did you throw any foliar nutrition in? Maybe like a pound or something? Half pound?
I mean, you can, but I don't know if it would pay
okay.
in that point. Because you'd be getting close to flowering.
Yeah.
Or done flowering.
Sure.
By that point. And you're talking weeks. Can it even process that through in enough time to make a difference? Boron, prior, it's important for blooming and fill period. I could see that, but throwing out 945, a phos product, potassium's a little iffy too if it'd ever get in and get its job done before the system just done.
I'm hearing a lot of ifs.
Yeah.
And ifs typically aren't.
Well, look at wheat. Wheat heads in my area and yours, everywhere south of basically the northern Nebraska border, it's pretty short fill period. Head, bloom, mature, or hard dough, and mature is only less than a month total. Tassel to black layer is 45 days or more, depending on where you're at and what length of season of corn you have. And on top of that, you're influencing, hundreds of bushels an acre versus you're going to maybe move. 10 bushel on corn is a lot more realistic than 10 bushel in wheat.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when the prices, I don't know what it is here. I hadn't even looked at wheat in a long time. Yeah. Corn's 50 cents under that and ish, 75. Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Tenfold more return on corn. So for wheat, it's just being more reactive and cautious on the management.
So many guys fall behind on wheat, though. I know I'm prone to it because when you need to be out doing things on wheat, it's probably when you're planting corn, post on corn, planting beans. You're doing important things. And it's like, oh my gosh, I see a head starting to shoot out and I see some rust. Call the plane. Everybody panics. Call the planes.
Mm-hmm.
Or you see the plane go over and you see it swoop down over your neighbor's field and then you freak out and call the co-op and just tell them to put it all on.
Load it all.
Load it all.
Like, what's that guy's name? Jim Bob?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yep.
Throw it all in. Everything you got.
Sprayer, neighbor spraying.
Yeah.
We have him on a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. They call it poverty grass. And
if you raise it, you go into poverty.
I think wheat, in my opinion, wheat is a good grass if things don't, or a good crop if things don't look good. It's a safe bet.
Okay.
You're going to get nothing in it, very little in it growing it. Very likely that you can double crop if you're irrigated for sure.
Yes.
Especially as long as you're in the south.
That's where our money's at.
Yeah.
We can usually make a little bit of money in wheat. It is a rotation crop here on poor ground.
It is in the west too, with sorghum or beans.
We can't put corn on our poor dirt. It won't raise anything.
Yeah, it's a safe, secure bet. I mean, even $3 wheat, there's some money in it because it doesn't cost nothing to grow.
If you know how to grow it. I feel like you're throwing 200 pounds in out there.
Well, yeah, right. But most people I know do very bare minimums in wheat. Wheat is just what it does. It's like beans. Sure. It does what it does, and that's it. Then pairing up with a double crop, following that tends to really pay out. Most of the time, if I take full season corn versus wheat with a double crop bean or milo or feed or whatever it may be, typically the double crop pays better for me with wheat.
So, excuse me. So I pulled that fertilizer removal app, the Ag PhD app, which I really do like this app. Punched in 50 bushel wheat. Now, there's some guys who are going to, be like, can't raise 50 bushel wheat. Why are you even trying? But another guy, I mean, really, if we hit 50 bushel wheat around here, a lot of guys are pretty pleased with that. Mm-hmm. Not stoked, but 50 is not too bad. The phosphorus for the grain, 24 pounds. Ain't a lot.
Yeah, but you got to do the combo.
8 for stover, so a total of 32.
Yeah.
Potassium, 14 pounds in the grain, 60 in the stover. Anyway, then sulfur's quite a bit, 12 pounds. 5 in the grain, 7 in the stover. And so, yeah, it's its needs aren't near as much as corn is.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. This has gone all over the place. It's gone absolutely all over the place. Aaron's going to hate editing this. No? Okay.
Yeah. You're just going to title it, We Don't Know.
We Don't Know. Probably our best podcast ever. Any more random facts you want to share with the people?
I don't know, Josh, what other random facts do you want to hear about?
I don't know. I can't ever get you to talk about space.
What about space, Josh?
I don't know. Do you think it's possible for interdimensional travel?
It depends on what guy you listen to.
Ben. I'm listening to Ben Amrine right now.
What'd you say?
Interdimensional travel.
Interdimensional. So interdimensional is not the same as like intergalactic.
Isn't that just Star Trek?
No, so intergalaxies, intergalactic. So one galaxy to another.
Star Trek.
Whatever. I didn't watch any of that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Interdimensional, you're talking, they have these things. So dimensional plane. So when you look at it like that, that's one dimensional. Then you start seeing 2-dimensional. And then 3 is where you have depth and everything involved. And then they say there's 4, 5, whatever beyond that. But we can only understand 3 because it's a plane. So think like bacteria. All they see is like single dimensionals, a line.
Okay.
2-dimensional would be essentially a flat sheet of paper.
Okay.
3-dimensional would be a cube.
Okay.
So then essentially, can you travel to the next dimension? I don't know if you can travel to another dimension as much as recognize one, and I don't know if we can do that.
Whoa. Okay.
So, can you travel to another galaxy? Yeah, but we're going to have to figure something else out
I don't
first.
think I'm going to be the one to volunteer to hop in that boat.
It's 2.5 million light years to the next closest one.
It'd take me a bit.
And so what's
Bean
it?
would do it.
It's 325,851 miles per second is speed of light, or 183,000. Yeah,
183,000.
Yeah, 183,000 miles per second speed of light. Do that for 2.5 million years, and that's how far it is.
Without hitting anything in between.
Actually, the vastness of space is very unlikely you could hit things. It's not like here, walk through this room, you're going to hit all sorts of things.
Yes, in here.
Yeah.
Absolutely, with all this camera stuff everywhere.
Yeah. But if you can travel 186, Google it. 186,000, I think. and
Speed
some
of
change.
light.
Yep.
I can tell you what anti-foamer costs.
But if you do that for 2.5 million years.
Why did it give me meters?
Because we've been doing so much in
Speed of light miles per hour. 671 million miles an hour.
Yeah, it's
Weren't we
186.
off a little bit? Didn't we say 187,000?
186,000 miles a second.
Oh, okay. I was going to say we were
Hold
off
on.
by 600 and some
186,000 miles per second.
Okay,
That's what it is.
nice.
So do that for 2.5 million years, and you'll get to the next closest galaxy.
I think we'll make that. That's okay. That's okay. That's why we're just going to raise wheat.
Yeah.
Because it as well makes no sense.
So the Voyager 1, Voyager 2 spacecrafts have been flying since the 70s, and they're flying at about 36,000 miles an hour,
Okay.
and they just left our solar system.
That's
So they've
long.
been at it for 50 years,
Wow.
and just now
Can
getting
you
out.
imagine if you're sitting in that thing? Think how many times you'd ask yourself,
Am I moving anywhere?
why did I do this? And then just think at this point, if you decide to turn around and go home, you die before you get there.
Yeah. Oh,
Man,
yeah.
talk about a pointless purpose in life.
Yeah.
That's space travel. I
Yeah.
hope we don't have an astronaut watching us. He's going to be pissed.
Oh, I don't know. I enjoy listening to some of those guys like Neil deGrasse. He's pretty interesting to listen to.
Okay.
He's one of those that's really confrontational. Like he loves to debate.
We should get him on here.
It would be very interesting.
If you
I would
guys,
enjoy
if
it.
anyone on here knows him, send him over. Shh. Anyway, okay. I don't know, man. I don't really know. I can talk about the estrus. I can talk about the estrus cycle of does because I deer hunt. but
Yeah,
I don't think many people on here. That's it, man.
So there was
Apparently, that's not it. What else?
One
There was
more, one more.
Okay.
So there was all this, there's this talk, Jupiter's a failed sun.
Okay. I'm going to assume like I knew that.
See, he knew that. He's nodding away. Jupiter's a failed sun. It's due to that it doesn't have enough mass to create nuclear fusion or fission. So they thought they'd need to be, 10 times? I think it's 10 times its current size. Till recently. Now they found another sun that's actually smaller than Jupiter.
It's an active sun. Oh, jeez.
So why didn't Jupiter become a star?
Probably because humans tried to inhabit it 185 trillion years ago.
You can't land on Jupiter, so
You can't?
it's gas giant. They think there's a rock core, but they can't go that deep.
Okay. Well, either
So,
that
I don't
or
know.
we just really screwed it up bad. Real bad.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So
The title of this podcast, Jupiter, the Failed Sun. And wheat.
and we
It's wheat. I need really write that down, please. Okay, I've spent this entire time trying to think of something else random that I knew. I haven't thought of it.
Oh
You can
man.
use calcium chloride to reduce dust on a gravel road.
Yeah,
But it
okay,
rusts your
okay.
cars out.
So the last podcast we just recorded.
I love this. I love when Ben gets going.
The last podcast we just recorded where we were with Skinner.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Grofel.
Yep.
And acids and stuff. So I did some studying a while back on acids, just extremes. Extreme acids, extreme like reactive materials.
Okay.
And so it was somebody within the U.S. government was attempting to create a new propellant that was cheap and real high yield. So for sciencey people, one of the best yielding things you can possibly get is an antimatter engine, but they're impossible to manufacture and run and stabilize. But the other one is they come up with a counter. Antimatter is anti-U, And the way you react it is touch current matter.
Aaron would pay a lot for
Boom.
that. Aaron's like, sign my butt up.
But they say they can manufacture it, but it has to be
They
sealed.
They
can manufacture antimatter.
the opposite of something.
Yes,
They can.
but
I could go in the business of making nothing if it paid.
they have to suspend it in a vacuum because if it touches a wall, it explodes. Because it's just reactive with matter. And so but the other thing is essentially to manufacture a teaspoon would bankrupt the United States. It's that expensive to make. So anyway, that's not what I was going after. What the other one was is they made a new, essentially like, it's a liquid deal, and essentially they were trying to, see what set it off. Light set it off, sound wave set it off. Essentially, by the end of the list of things that set it off was virtually everything on the planet. It sets it off. So there's just the amount of stability. So one thing about Growful is that it's a highly stable hydronium. Okay. And that's where I got into that, studying acids and the proton exchange. Essentially, acidity is based off how stable the hydrogen atom is on the chain. So the more stable, the less acidic. How fast it wants to give it off. You need to study that so you know what you're talking about.
I really do. I feel like an idiot right now.
So, I don't know. That's the kind of stuff I like to study because I want to know more behind it.
Yeah. I wish... Here's the thing. I wish things would slow down a little bit just so you had some more time to I don't know, go back into the sciencey side. And I know you do some, but like when I first met you, I mean, you were like seriously into it. You had more time to devote to it, and it was so fascinating just to learn.
Well, that's why I just jumped from so many industries or so many sciences. It's all atoms. It's all charges. It's all exchanges. You got neutrons, protons, electrons, all these things. So that's why I like to branch from one to another. What makes an acid so dangerous? What makes something so reactive? What makes something radioactive?
What about battery acid?
What about it?
I don't know. I don't know anything about it other than you're not supposed
That's
to
the thing of
drink
the past. Phosphoric acid.
That's what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So spent battery acid is a fertilizer ingredient. I know that some of them use that.
Oh my gosh. Great. Is that a byproduct of war? Just like everything else in life?
Well, so lead electrodes inside of phosphoric acid is what creates a battery, at least in the day. Now it's lithium.
How soon until you think we have non-gas engines? I'm not talking electric.
Non-gasoline?
Yeah. I mean, do you think hydrogen engine's the next thing?
I do.
Okay.
It's something you could liquid or you can pump into something. Okay. You can store it, haul it. Yeah. Electricity,
you
got to
neutralize it.
You
can
rub
it on you. It don't hurt you.
So there's so much technology when it comes to hydrogen beyond ag. Yeah. So hydrogen reactors work like uranium reactors in a nuclear reactor, like for power plant. So they have one that's hydrogen. Okay. That's really, really safe. Looks really, really promising. Japan's talking about moving most of the reactors to that.
Didn't Porsche move into hydrogen engines?
I think a lot of them are starting to look at hydrogen.
Yeah.
Byproduct is water.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah. So guess what? We're going to raise corn in the desert because you got California over there with lots of cars and all the humidity coming east.
You talk about raising big corn next to water sources.
Yeah.
We can go buy Nevada. Bro.
Yeah, I'd be curious.
You know, random fact, I just thought of one. That dude hates the idea of mule deer hunting. Hates the idea of mule deer hunting. You want to drive him up a wall, just be like, hey, Aaron, you want to go mule deer hunting? Oh, he loses it. See? That's exactly it. I can't do what he did on here. It would be banned from YouTube, but it's okay. Oh, yes. I got Ben to rant. Really didn't think it was going to happen on this podcast, but this
I didn't rant, did I?
Well, not rant. You just You go like from one subject, and it's like really fascinating. You're like, yeah, that's it. One other thing, we're going to talk about the asteroid gas of stars and the exchange of like bubbles in wood or things like that. I don't know.
There's
See, he's got another one. He has another one.
There's one of the planets.
See?
Dude, I'm going to tell you, because this is...
I love it.
It's either...
You're going to have 100 reels from a 50-minute podcast.
There's one of the planets on the outer side, so it's either Uranus or Neptune. I think it's Uranus, but it rains diamonds. Because the carbon gets compacted so much that it actually hardens into diamonds.
Okay.
So
where's this at again?
Yeah, I think it's Uranus.
Put it in my Google Maps.
I think it's Uranus. It's weird. There's things on Earth that are rare, and in other areas, it's the main thing that there is.
Okay, well, it doesn't give directions to Uranus.
Probably
Walking,
good.
Driving, or taking a
The
train.
wind only blows 1,400 mile an hour there, so you probably don't want to go.
Out like Plains, Kansas.
Kind of, pretty close. I think that'd be good.
1,500 miles an hour, and it rains diamonds.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Well, thank you for your infinite wisdom. Somebody has started out with wheat. You know anything about wheat? We're talking about raining diamonds and blowing up asteroids. Black holes?
Oh, man. What about black
You
holes?
think it is a portal to another dimension? What do you think is on the other side of a black hole?
I don't know, but I don't really want to find out.
I mean, where in the crap's that stuff going? You know, it's like a vacuum that you can't open the vacuum.
It's not a vacuum.
Oh.
So, oh my gosh. Do we have enough time?
Yeah. Yeah, hurry. I mean, no, we got time.
Mass makes gravity.
Okay.
So that more dense, the heavier things get, the more gravity there is. So you get things that are like gas planets next to a rocky world. If they were the identical side, the gravity pull on a rocky world would be a lot more than a gas, just for the fact there's more mass that pulls it in. So suns and stars have lots and lots of mass. They weigh a lot, so they have large gravitational pulls. That's why the sun can hold planets and asteroids and comets and things for billions and billions of miles and keep them in orbit. That's the pull, essentially centrifugal force versus gravity, and that's on orbit. So when you get into these supermassive stars, like freaking huge, when they collapse in on themselves, essentially they implode, and everything finites into a point. And then you have all that mass concentrated into a tiny little bitty point, and that's what a black hole is. So the gravitational pull is so extreme, nothing gets out. Now, when you get crazy is when you start talking about space and time, fabric of space and time. They say black holes are a tear through. That's where you start talking about portals. I don't think you want to get into that deal because I don't really want to go in there and get spaghettified and if you make it that far. Interstellar. Have you watched that movie? Matthew McConaughey.
I hate space movies.
Okay, well there's
space movies, and I don't really like war movies, and I really don't like movies on water. I hate water.
Well, Interstellar is a whole planet in water, so you'd probably have nightmares.
I ain't watching that.
So anyway, Matthew McConaughey is on a movie called Interstellar. That's actually a really good way to understand, space, time dilation, things like that.
Does time work different in space?
Yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the
gravitational pull.
How does gravity affect time? I mean, it'd be like
there's such a
gravity,
thing.
And then what? No gravity?
The more the gravity...
That is not going to be real. Shoot.
There... Oh, man. Yeah, it affects time. So it's on Earth. We have that. So satellites run on a slightly different time than us.
So
the computers compensate.
What do you think is
for time
keeping
dilation.
Earth in a specific distance from the sun?
Centrifugal. Mass versus gravity versus centrifugal
But
outward force.
what's keeping this freaking ball of idiots from going like 100 yards to the right and we all get nuked, or 100 yards to the left and we're back in the ice age? Really? This whole thing's just like this of emotion going on.
Real.
I don't know. It just kind of scares the piss out of me.
It's amazing anything exists at all.
I know. And here we are thinking that 1 micromilligram of boron is going to change our corn crop this year when, I don't know, it's like some star that just bumps another star can immediately become a trajectory rocket towards Earth and we all die.
That marketing guy, he hates it. Every time he calls me, and he'll be on a rant about something going on in the markets. And what if this happens? What if this happens? And I will always pop off. His name's Daryl. Daryl, what if an asteroid hits the Earth tomorrow? We're all dead. None of it freaking matters anyway. God damn it, Ben. Every time it's a freaking asteroid. Yeah, it could be.
Yep.
A large part of the asteroids are discovered after they leave Earth. Area.
After they leave Earth?
Leave the Earth's area. Yep. After they fly by is typically when we find them.
Oh, it's like, that went by yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
or
cool.
within the last 24, 48 hours.
So all this hyperbole of in 2025, we're going to get drilled in the face by an asteroid.
2036, but no, it's not supposed to hit then.
Okay.
Dependent on where it comes through then.
Okay.
Well, it's called it's actually called Apophis.
What?
Apophis.
Is this okay? I'm good. Oh shoot, sorry. Right. Out of frame. You know what I'd really like? I would really like, so this might be getting controversial. I would really like for Joe Rogan to have, honestly, I'd like for him to have you on the podcast. I don't know if that happened, but it seems like so many people get on there. Oh yeah, and wear your hoodie. Not yet. A few months. So this is like a call, like out to the universe. Like seriously, I've seen some soil biology nerds get on there, and I've seen, whatever. They're always bashing on modern day agriculture, and I really don't think that there has been a someone on there that has a solid grasp of modern day agriculture that has been a farmer. Really, like a well-educated farmer on there. And I'm like, dude, why don't you get one on? I don't know. I think it'd do so much good for agriculture. I sit here and I'm going to cry. I get mad about things like this. So, yeah, if you know Joe Rogan, just call him up and be like, hey, have Ben come over.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, okay. So we're raining diamonds. We're going to try to get on the Joe Rogan podcast. And
Neil deGrasse
nothing
Tyson's
matters
coming.
with wheat. Nothing matters with wheat, so just forget about it. But that is not advice. Do not do that. Anyway, otherwise someone will use that against us.
May's the month for wheat.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with your crop?
You know why wheat probably does pretty good? Because we're too busy to mess with it.
There's a lot of truth to that.
That'd be a good reel right there. Anyway, if you guys notice Ben's new hoodie right there, helping farmers, established in 223. That's a good caliber. Your strings covering the 0. So, oh man, 202. Anyway, we got to end this thing. So, guys, like, subscribe, share it, or don't. Don't really. It's fine. If you want to support us, that's cool. Yep. Anything else? Yeah. This has been one of my favorite podcasts.
Jeez.
Okay.
All right. Catch you later.
See ya.